Okay, we're here. We're back for another episode. Mandy, how are we doing today? We're excited for this show. How was your weekend? What's going on?
Well, number one, I'm awesome. Thank you for asking. Number two, my weekend was fun. I think I said last week we started appliance shopping because we're going through this renovation. And I think we started solidifying some details. And actually, it was fun. It was fun this week, where last week we really felt like we were just fish out of water learning things. And this week there were no domestic disputes. We're still married. And we learned a lot about ranges and refrigerators. And, in all the years we've been together, I either bought the things or he bought the things. So this is the first time we're buying the things, joint decision making together. It seems silly that after 14 years, this is the first, but it was fun. I had a nice, fun weekend. It was really good. We saw some sunsets. I watched the Oscars. Did you watch the Oscars?
I did not watch the Oscars. I have an assignment for my students to correctly predict the winners. It's a little competition.
Ooh.
So we did that. I didn't watch them yet, but I was streaming DJing at the same time. But I'll watch the highlights. I saw Robert Downey Jr. won his first one, which is cool. And there's some other things there. So I have to watch the highlights, though.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you just got back from Albuquerque, the National Speakers Association. How was that conference?
Yes, this was a great conference. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute, but do you see the parallels? This spring and early summer, you're going through a renovation. Do you remember last spring and summer when we had the banging going on? That was doing by renovation.
It was very loud. We had some very loud shows when you had the banging going on. I remember very well.
Yeah,
We're moving out. We're going to be digital nomads for our renovation.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. That's wise.
Yeah.
So Albuquerque was great. Some phenomenal speakers were there. I learned so much. I really still kind of like not burned out, but like my brain is like whatever that emoji is when your brain is on fire. And so I just have to review my notes and try to take action. That was a common theme there, is that we learn all this information, particularly when we're at conferences, but then we never take action. And so I really have to sit down and pick 3 things that I'm going to take action with and move forward with it. So that's kind of my focus for early this week, so I can get going and just start to make it a habit.
Amani, I love it. And I'm going to ask you to take it a little step further, because this is what I do with my sales coaching. Yeah. Learn the things, that's cool. Determine the action, that's cool, but don't overwhelm yourself, but give yourself dates to the actions.
Okay.
So right. I'm going to ask you maybe next week, what are those actions and what are the dates? Because like we can learn and take action, but if we don't give ourselves an expiration date on it, we don't put any positive pressure, right? So you got to put the positive pressure on, Amani.
I'll be ready. Ask me and I'll be ready. So
okay, love it.
That was the weekend. Excited to share more about what I learned in the upcoming weeks. And who are we going to talk to today?
We got a firecracker today. I'm so excited. It all started in the late 80s, the early 90s at Clemson. And this person has held many senior sales executive roles in the hospitality business. He's really passionate about people, about cross training, super focused on retention, incentive programming, and just an overall just awesome human being and really, really interesting person. So I'm excited that we have Chris Riccardi today on the show with
So
KSL Resorts.
with KSL, round of applause. We'll give you some applause there from our studio audience. Awesome. Welcome, Chris. We're so happy to have you here with us today. A lot of our conversation is going to be about sales. I tend to run way ahead. Manny likes to go to the Wayback Machine. So my question for you is, I always start with one, is this off the bat, based on your experience in your sales career, what are like the top 3 most
the attitude is your job is to help clients succeed. That's really will make you a successful salesperson.
Okay. Yeah. Mandy, you want to take us to the Wayback Machine?
I always like to go to the Wayback Machine. All right, Chris, let's link ours to go to the Wayback Machine. So you're coming out, you got your undergrad at Clemson, and then your master's you got at USC, right? University of South Carolina, is that right?
South Carolina, the other USC.
The other USC, yeah, the other USC. So coming out of that, today you're, a senior person in our industry, and not old senior, but senior, experienced senior. How do you go from masters in your programming that you have to all these different hotel stops that you went and, maybe just some trips and falls along the way, things you learn, things that you wish you didn't know, and things that happen along the way?
Well, I started fresh out of college after my master's degree in a management training program. And I think that was so helpful because it gave me the foundation. I worked in every aspect of the hotel. I worked at the front desk. I was a valet parker. I worked, at the concierge desk. I was in the restaurants, banquets, PBX, housekeeping. I did it all. And I think that gave me a tremendous foundation for my career ahead because it helped me understand all the aspects of the hotel and really how the hotel ticked. I ended up in that training program, spent a lot of time at the front desk, and the front desk is the heart of the hotel. Mm-hmm. If you can master the front desk, you really can work at, you get the big, you get the big picture. But, I think, having goals and networking and meeting the right people helped me throughout my career. I was fortunate enough to find a mentor, but it was sort of unofficial, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And someone that I could look up to and could give me career advice. And this individual gave me career advice, and we worked together when I was at Stouffer Renaissance Hotels way back when. And then this gentleman moved on over to Ritz-Carlton and brought me with him. Yeah. So, and now I've had the opportunity to repay the favor. And he's now an executive at KSL. And I was, delighted to be a reference for him so he could join, KSL Resorts with me at this point in time. But so you've got to always make those connections and set goals for yourself. I was just talking to someone that I'm actually mentoring, and we had our first conversation last week, and we were talking about goal setting. And she eventually wants to be a DOS or a DOSM. What's that time frame to move to an ADOS? What's the time frame to move to a DOS? So I think setting goals was helpful to help you along your career.
Now, I love what you said about mentoring, how you got a mentor by accident. And I think sometimes that's the best way, right? It's the best to fall into mentorship or become a mentee of a mentor. What advice do you have out there for people that are a little bit farther experienced in their career and they think, I don't have any time to give back. I don't have any time. I've got kids. What advice do you have? Because I look at it from a perspective of like, give back as much as you can. Like, we have a responsibility to build the bench of our industry. But what advice do you have to people that have never mentored before, think they don't have time, but that they probably could do it?
Make the time. It's well worth it. And it's very, very rewarding. We're all busy, but I think you have no idea how much, your advice is really going to go. And you think, I don't have that much to say or to share. You really do. Because there's a big gap in our industry right now. We have some senior sellers. There's a lot of new people entering the industry. So it's up to us to help these people grow and become the best that they can be. And it doesn't have to be formal. You know, there in my program right now, we were talking and I asked her, well, she said, there's a lot of forms and all this, or how do you want to do it? Do you just want to chat and, you know, let it happen organically? She's like, yeah, let's just chat. You know, so it doesn't have to be hard. And it could be 30 minutes a month. And so I encourage anybody just to try it, just to do it, give back, and it'll be rewarding for the both of you.
Now, to follow up on that question, why do you feel there's such a gap from our more senior, you know, sales leaders and then the up and coming? What happened to the people in the middle?
I think we certainly lost some of them during COVID. They left the industry and they went off and doing other things. So I think there's a gap there. I think our industry's got it's a fantastic industry. That's why we're all here and we love it and we're passionate about it. But we can certainly be better. We can look at it in the way we're paying. Rewards, we need to be a lot more flexible than we have in the past. Flexible in so many ways. Flexible in whether it's job sharing and you know, if you're working remote or not. We recently had a situation where we wanted a DOS in market for a portfolio of our hotels, you know, and we couldn't necessarily find the right one, but we had to be flexible. And we let this person do 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. But that was the best, you know, decision at the time. So you've got to understand that you got to let people job share, whatever it may be. You know, we have someone has to take off from 3 to 5, maybe to pick up her kids, and then they can come back and work later. That's fine. So I think we need to adjust as an industry to do that and bring some people back.
Yeah.
You know, coming out of COVID, actually really before COVID, the industry it wasn't as appealing to the younger demographic because of the long hours, the inflexibility, the just reputation that, you know, you got to work your way up from the bottom. A lot of the younger generation wants to get promoted very quickly. What can we as an industry do, in addition to what you shared, to really improve our reputation to attract more people?
There's so many things, Amani, on this, and I'm kind of in tune with this with having a 22-year-old and a 24-year-old. So they're just getting out of college, looking for jobs. And as I told Mandy a couple stories last time we saw each other, about my daughter and one of the jobs that she got, and like the amount of vacation they are getting is insane. You know, in the first year she had 3 weeks plus one international trip a year, and then in her new job she got 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, that sounds fine, but then they give her every one Friday off a month, so she also has another 12 days vacation. So I mean, time off is very important to these people. So we have to be flexible with that. We got to make sure we're giving a fair amount of vacation. You know, you can do the PTO and they can figure it out, but a lot of the people coming into the industry, or particularly the ones fresh out of college, enjoy the travel, the experiences. So we got to be flexible on vacation, and we have to be flexible on, let's say, work hours as well. And well-being, health and well-being is very important to them. You can attract them with incentives and health clubs and all that sort of stuff as well. We actually are just added to our incentive program. They have their standard incentive program, but we have a special added one on top. And some of the rewards are, if they hit certain KPIs, we'll pay for a health club membership for a year, or we'll make a donation to their charity of their choice. So you've got to really find out what makes someone tick, and perhaps we as an industry can be a little bit better at that.
Agreed. Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
I agree.
We're not going to be the highest paid industry, but we can certainly have fun with incentives on the sales side, and other people as well. We're quick to do spot incentives. If you make this quarter, you hit these numbers, we're going to give you X. Just make it really fun. These are things that aren't in their program. You know, maybe everybody gets a luxury handbag if that's what your team is into. I had one of my leaders tell me that her team, that would be important to them. You know, are they going to go out and spend a X amount on a super expensive handbag? Maybe not, but if you hit your numbers, we'll give it to you.
That's awesome.
We like that. Yes.
Yeah. I want to hang here for a second, because we're talking about recruitment and retention. But how do you build the best performing hospitality athlete?
Well, I think one of the first things on retention that people often overlook, we should always be hunting and trying to bring new people into the industry. No matter where you are, you go out to a restaurant and you have a great server, you want to give her your card. So we're always looking outside. But I think one of the things that people forget to do is they forget about their own team. What we like to say is you need to re-recruit your own team, because the last thing that you want is for them to slip through the cracks and leave you, especially those top players. So you got to re-recruit your team and find out what's important to them. And that kind of goes back to a little bit tied into those spot incentives I was mentioning. But the other thing is training. Training is retention. You got to train your people. And yes, we've got the senior salespeople that are like, oh, I don't need to go through training. I've been there. I've done that. And what I always say to them is, do you think Tom Brady just showed up on Sundays to play? No, he practiced all week long. And then he did own additional training with a strength coach and a mental coach. So everybody needs to train no matter at what level you are. So we're very big on training. And one of the things that we're doing at KSL Resorts is we're trying to build these commercial athletes, this hospitality athlete. So imagine it as a triathlon. In the commercial world, you've got your sales, revenue management, and marketing. So you want everybody to be able to understand and be strong in those three disciplines. Sure, if you're doing the triathlon, you may be a stronger swimmer, and then you've got the bike and the run, and they may not be your best. But in the commercial side, sales may be your discipline, but you certainly need to understand and learn more about revenue management, learn more about marketing. I'm a fan of the HSMAI courses. I personally took the Certified Hospitality Digital Marketing course. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing some revenue management certificates. And then if you're a revenue manager, you should take some of these other ones that encompass sales and marketing. There's a new one coming out called Business Acumen. And there's another one that is actually out from HSMAI. And they're launching the Certified Hospitality Sales Leader. That should come out after July. And I'm actually helping them edit some of the chapters. I'm on the sales advisory board in one of their work groups. So that's why I'm giving them a plug. But there's so many other ways to learn. And I think I would encourage everybody, no matter what commercial discipline you're in, you should learn about the other. And that whole concept goes for other aspects of the hotel. If you're in food and beverage, take some time to learn about rooms and become that overall athlete. Learn offense and defense.
How does relationship building come into play with being a high performing hospitality athlete? Like, how does relationship building in terms of getting to know, if you're in sales, getting to know the valet, getting to know the housekeeping team, like what are 2 or 3 tips you can give to salespeople of all levels of how they can build deeper relationships, which will make their job easier and make their teammates' job easier, that will, improve their athleticism as a hospitality athlete?
Well, get to know everybody. Everybody's on the team and everybody is equal. You may have a different title, but everybody's equal. As my mom told me, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. We're all the same.
Truth.
So I'll never forget that. But, you got to get to know those teams. One of the things I think the sales teams can do better is we always send out those site alerts. That's great. Super important to let them know big VIP like Mandy is coming to visit the hotel. However, do you follow up and tell them, you know what, we just booked that program? You got to follow up and say thank you to the housekeeping. They said the housekeeping was fantastic. We now have X amount of room nights coming in this month, and it's a result of you and your efforts. So I think that is huge with building the relationships, particularly when you're on property. But I think getting to know your own counterparts and what makes them tick, and if you talk about going back to teams, I was listening to a podcast and it was on how leaders lead, and they were interviewing Peyton Manning, and they were talking about how the NFL teams are flying over to Europe, and I thought they didn't want to go, and it was too far. They said that the bonding and getting to know the people on the plane, spending that week in Europe helps. So I encourage you to bond with your own team and you will become more successful and productive.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a story. My mom was in hotel sales for a very short period of time. And she would tell me, this is before I was in hotel sales. She would tell me that, and she was a BT salesperson. She would take the director of engineering, the director of housekeeping, and a front office person on sales calls with her. And she had a convertible. This was back in the 80s or the 90s. She smoked. They all were smoking. They were smoking in the convertible. And she would take them on calls and she would let them lead the call. You know, she would be like, okay, Joe, you're going to go in and introduce yourself. And it was a training for them to see what she did, but it's also an opportunity for her, for all of them to get to know each other. I don't know how feasible that is now to do because everybody's so strapped in time and overtime and all that stuff. But I just love that story that she made that suggestion, but people were also willing to go with her, you know, crazy Kathy in her convertible to go on the calls. I think, however, you can infuse that, right? However, you can build those relationships at the hotel property is really important.
I think your mom's brilliant. She's spot on.
She is pretty brilliant. Yeah.
One of the things that we try to do is we like to bring the hotel to them as you're going out on sales calls, just like she did. Bring the chef. When we were in Hawaii with Outrigger, we would bring our cultural advisor on the road. Bring the GMs. You know, some GMs are certainly better than others, but you know what? Get them out of the office. The customers want to meet the GMs. Bring that rooms division or whoever it may be, because then they're all. Even bring your revenue manager, particularly on when you know, if you're going on sales calls to that leisure tour and travel segment. But you got to bring them out as well, because it all will help the sales and the commercial process.
I agree.
Now, when you're thinking of teams and you think back to your career, what have been maybe the best? I'll give you one or two teams that you've been a part of, and what made it such a, you know, amazing team.
What makes things an amazing team is when everybody else is helping another person, helping someone else. They're not solely looking out for themselves. And I think that's what makes successful teams. Everybody has each other's back, no matter what's happening. We all have our ups and downs, but as long as you cover each other, you'll be a successful team. And that's where the whole 1 + 1 = 3.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then particularly in today's era in sales, what are some of the skills that you're looking for when you're hiring leaders? And also maybe you're trying to fill that middle level of the sales professional. Like, what skills are like salespeople need to know or need to be learning to make them more attractive to people like you?
Yeah. Well, I think when we're looking for leaders, we're looking for someone who's authentic, who's trustworthy, who is puts the team first. I think that certainly will help. I was talking to Mandy earlier, and we were talking about leaders, and people leave people. They don't necessarily leave organizations. And you know, if you're working for a leader that's horrible, move on. They don't deserve you, and they don't deserve your time. So, but you know, having a great leader is so critical to any organization. And they've got to be willing to help people grow, and they have to look out for them and always have their back. And I think trust is one of the biggest things that people need to have, you know, in a leader. If you don't trust and respect them, it's time to move on.
Yeah. Agreed. Back to you, Mandy.
Well, I want to stay with trust for a second. So let's just say you are new to the industry and you know, like this person you were mentoring that wants to be a DOS or a DOGS. How can one start early to build and establish trust? Because that, you know, obviously that happens over time. It happens over a series of intentional circumstances. What are some things, a couple actions that people can take to start establishing trust and build their thought leadership within an organization today, even if they're not going to be a director or a VP in the next 5 years or so? What are little things they can do?
I think being open and adaptive is critical, but really listening and asking questions. You know, if you're a salesperson and you're having to take your business into the revenue management team all the time, ask why. Help me understand why we're making that decision. You're talking to marketing about something. Help me understand why. You know, I think by asking why a lot will help you grow, and it will also garner respect from some of your colleagues in these other departments and on your own team to help you, because you're trying to better yourself and understand what's going on in the organization. So I think asking a lot of questions, and I think networking. This individual that I'm mentoring, she's a part of HSMAI Rising Leaders. She went out and joined that and threw herself out there. So I give her a lot of credit. New to the industry, but she jumped into HSMAI. So good for her, and she's giving back. And those rising leaders are actually, in a way, mentoring high school students or people fresh out of high school and coming in out of college to try to bring them into our industry. So they're young mentors themselves.
I mean, they may even be, I don't know if this happens with you. Sometimes some of the people I mentor, it's reverse mentorship. I'm learning from them half the time. I don't know if that happens, but there's an opportunity for some reverse mentorship in that too.
Oh, I certainly learn every time I'm talking to, people that are mentoring or people that are early on in their careers. I like to ask why and tell me why you did that, what's going on. And I think it's critically important. I learn a lot from my kids as well to see what's going on at their level, fresh out of college, and what type of training that was provided to them, what's going on, and how does their boss handle certain situations. And so I think we can learn from anybody.
I know, got to be open to it.
Actually, we got to be lifelong learners. And that's what I tell the senior people on the team too. You should always be learning, whether you're reading, listening to a podcast, or just asking a lot of questions.
Yeah. You've mentioned HSMAI a couple times. In your career, how beneficial has been like your membership and activity with professional organizations for you personally?
And let's share too, because we know what HSMAI is, but can you explain to the audience what HSMAI is, just in case people listening may not know? And then we'll go to the question. Yeah.
Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. So it's really the membership are people in the industry. There are no meeting or event planners in there, unlike a site or an MPI, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's a great platform to learn. And they have tons of courses. And so great for these people of all skill levels in our industry. They have entry-level stuff, and then there's higher levels courses for leadership. It's just an excellent way to network with your peers and an excellent way to grow and learn and become a stronger player in the hospitality industry. And then, Amani, you would ask me about some of my other organizations I've been. I used to be very active in MPI. I saw that you were like a past president of MPI Southern California.
He's fancy.
Way back,
fancy.
You're a bigwig. I was on the MPI board in Orange County and built some incredible relationships with those board members, and we're still very well connected to this day. And some of them, even Mandy, were on that advisory council that we had we're speaking about earlier, as well as SITE, Society of Incentive Travel Executives as well. So I think you got to get active. And the other thing is I want to say is people will join these organizations, but that's just not it. You got to participate, because you're going to get out what you put in.
Yeah. Agreed. You get out what you put in. You said that so well. When we look at like the travel industry, 2024, we're March 2024, the travel industry, what trends are you watching closely? And how do you feel about the upcoming year or two as we kind of enter into, we're already in kind of a year or two of a lot of change?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is the short-term nature of business. Short-term is the new norm. It's just crazy to see how short-term business really is, and that's on the group side and on the leisure side as well. It makes it very difficult for forecasting. Very difficult as we're looking at our food and beverage and rooms and everything. So I think we've got to be, adjust to that. And but you also got to have that strategy and adjust your strategies and make sure you're finding some long-term business to build that foundation. But so short-term seems to be the new norm. Some other trends, obviously AI. I'm not an expert in AI, but I think that's something that we're going to certainly need to embrace. And I think, it's changing so fast. What you learn this week may change next week, but I think we need to embrace it, and we need to really learn more about it and see how we can leverage it. And I know on the sales side, one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to leverage AI for some solicitation. How many times are you in the room and you ask someone, do you love to solicit? You're not going to get a lot of hands that go up in the air. I wish you did.
I do. Okay. But I'm unusual. I'm a weirdo. Yeah, no, I get it.
And those that do are super, super valuable. So, but there's a lot of great salespeople that don't necessarily love to solicit. But I think that AI is going to be a great way to help us uncover who may be some great potential clients for us, and maybe do that initial reach out. And then the human being comes on in and gets involved. But it's going to take a lot of time and save some time on that initial research and who we may be needing to prospect.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Mandy.
Back to the trends, though. One more thing, I got to throw this out there. It's all about experiential. Everybody, they want to understand what's local. We're starting a whole new born-in program in our hotels in the Central Coast. People want to know when they go to an area, whether it's Paso Robles or whatever, they want to know what's going on. Tell me about the history. What's made here? Why is it so famous? Just like, we've kind of been doing for years in Hawaii, talking about the culture. And, I have my time from Outrigger, so that's why I keep bringing up Hawaii. But they want to embrace themselves and uniquely local. Tell me about the restaurants and the cooking class and, in Hawaii and the dances and all of that. So I think if you're not embracing the local feel, you're probably missing out.
I agree. I do think people want that indigenous experience. Like, what's the local art? What's the local food? What's the local drink? All of that. I love that. And I wish more hotels would capitalize on that. Okay. So I know, like, you have all these hotels in your portfolio, and just like kids, you're not supposed to have a favorite kid. What is a favorite, not favorite hotel in your portfolio? Maybe it's one that you just went to, that you just had a great experience at. Maybe it's in the Central Coast, maybe it's in Hawaii, but like, what's a experience you've had at one of your hotels lately that was memorable for you, that you're like, oh, geez, I wish I was there right now?
Yeah. Well, like you said, you're not supposed to have a favorite child, but I think people probably do. But we have so many great ones, as you know, that we have Outriggers in the portfolio, and they're amazing, from Hawaii to Fiji, Thailand, Maldives. I mean, what's not to love out there? But what's kind of top of mind right now would be the Central Coast. We have 6 newer hotels that we brought into the KSL portfolio exactly a year ago, and the Paso Robles Inn is going through a transformation right now, a whole restoration. The hotel was built in 1889. It has a resident ghost. There's tunnels underneath that were from Prohibition time that go all the way through the city. You can't walk really underneath them, but like when I was there, the engineer guy just, this is a part of, we're trying to incorporate this in some of the sites. The engineer takes us down into their workshop, which looks like a workshop. It's not, necessarily a nice area. And then he opens this wooden door, and then he's pointing out where all the tunnels were that used to come into the hotel, where they were, running the alcohol. It's truly just amazing. And I think bringing this hotel back to its greatness, and we're going through this restoration plan right now, and just seeing all of these, we talked about what's local in the Born In program and Paso Made. It's just so exciting, and I can't wait. I enjoy it there, and it's so authentic country. The guys at the valet guys are going to have a belt buckle. It's really all about Paso. I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited about that.
That's so it's Paso Robles Inn. Is that the name of the hotel?
Paso Robles Inn, and okay. There's 250 wineries there now. So you can go there and enjoy the wineries. There's a town square right out front. It sort of brings you back in time a little bit. When you get out there, things slow down. They all talk about the fair, the big county fair that happens every July. So
I love a county fair.
It's so cool. And the people are really genuine. And when you meet people from Paso Robles, they'll tell you like, oh, I'm a 7th generation person. You know, my parents were cattle farmers here. And so it's, you know, a lot of the people we have on our teams, you know, grew up working on farms. And it's our GM over there lives on a farm. She rides horses. I'm really excited about, you know, where we're going with the Paso Robles.
That
And the area
sounds
is so much
so
to do.
cool. Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. That sounds so cool.
You gotta
Okay.
get up there.
Now, instead of talking about your hotel kids, let's talk about your real kids. So you're going on an adventure with your son coming up in June. Can you share a little bit about this adventure you're doing?
Absolutely. So my son graduates college in May, and so in June, we are going on an adventure to Africa. So we are going to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which is one of the 7 summits of the world. It's 19,500 feet, so it's pretty high. It'll take us about 8 days. We'll walk 55 miles during the trip. And we'll go through about 5 or 6 different climate zones. It's going to be a great father-son adventure. So I've been getting out and trying to make sure I'm hiking as much as I can. On Sundays, I'm always out there trying to chase the hills and get ready for this big adventure in Africa. And then after that, we're going to stick around with the family's going to join us, and we're all going to hit a safari. So family bonding.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. What's aside from hiking, what's something that you're doing to prepare for it? Is there anything unusual that you didn't expect that you'd have to do that you're doing?
Well, right now I'm an avid mountain biker and a runner. I trail run all the time. So my life is I run one day, ride the next, run, ride. But then Sundays is the big long hike. So just trying to lengthen my runs and make sure that my runs have plenty of hills in them. I think that's what it's going to be about. And same with the riding. I get out every couple days a week, and then every Saturday morning with a big group of guys, and we ride something I've been doing for years. But I can't leave my wife out of this. So we're playing pickleball. She signed us up for a pickleball tournament on the 23rd, and so we've been playing pickleball. It's together, and I think it's good for the marriage. We're not fighting too much. Who made that mistake?
That's different than my pickleball with my husband. We can't play together. We cannot play together.
So we're playing tonight, getting ready for our tournament at the end of the month. But that's super fun. If you haven't gotten out and played pickleball, it is just fantastic, and anybody can do it. And that's a whole nother big trend on resorts. People are converting their tennis courts to pickleball courts, and you're now seeing pickleball packages at a lot of the resorts as well. And it's great for all ages.
It's pickleball vacations. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've come to the point in the show where we flip the script and let you ask me a question, and then you ask Mandy a question. You can ask us both a separate one or different ones individually. Who do you want to ask a question to first?
I have lots of questions.
Oh, good. Ask them all.
For the both of you.
Yeah.
How did you two meet, and what made you start this podcast?
I love Mandy. Let's let Mandy tell a story. I love how she tells a story.
Aw, Amani. So it's funny. Amani and I were volunteers for MPI Southern California. Amani was the president. I was just a volunteer on the education committee. And we were on a committee call, and we were talking about registration for our conference. And I had just been interviewed the previous week on a LinkedIn Live. And it was very easy. It was like a 20-minute interview. It was very simple, super fun. And I was like, why don't you guys just do a LinkedIn Live? Do one LinkedIn Live once a week leading up to registration to announce speakers. And they're like, great idea, Mandy, go with it. I was like, oh no, now we got to be in charge of it. And Amani's a live streamer by trade. So he and I started doing these LinkedIn Lives to promote the conference. And it was 6 weeks, once a week for 20 minutes. And it actually really helped the conference grow because we were in their faces talking about the general session, the breakout, the philanthropy, the opening reception, all that stuff. And then after that, we thought, well, how do we do this together? How do we keep going? We had a really good rapport, and we really liked it. And so that's how we started Adventures in Business. And I really wanted to talk to all different business leaders, not just hospitality, because, I run 2 businesses and Monty runs 2 businesses. We learned so much from these business leaders about their trips and their falls and and I wanted to build in public too. I didn't want this to be this shiny finished product. I want it to be like it gets better every week. We learn a little bit more every week. So it'll be 2 years in July that we've been doing this. We started once a month, and then Amani did say, we got to do this once a week. I'm like, that gives me heartburn. I don't have time for that. And then towards the end of the first year, we had demand. We have a really, really engaged audience. And there was a demand for once a week. So then we've been doing it once a week. And it's one of my favorite parts of the week.
So how long has that been now?
For almost 2 years, since July 2022.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amani, I got another question for you. So I see that you're a professor at Cal State Fullerton.
Yes.
Tell me, what are you learning from the students? Why do you love it? And what are you learning from the students?
I love it because I learn from the students as much as I teach them, they teach me. It's good to see people when they don't understand a concept and then you follow the process by teaching them and then you see them get the concept. That really fills me up, particularly when they can actually do it on an exam and they get it. I'm just like, yes. So that kind of fills me up there. I love just, teaching. It's a lot of work. You're probably going to be underpaid, but the value in terms of what you can fill up in terms of a student, you can't measure that in terms of money. And so I love it that way. What else? So what was your other question? Because I got caught up on the love it part.
It was, why do you love it? And then what are you learning from them?
Oh, I learned from them popular music, popular trends, how to use TikTok, how to use CapCut, just kind of what they pay attention to, what resonates with the students, what issues are important to them, everything, culture. So they kind of keep me, as at least a little bit more younger and hip than I am. And every day, like I'm sure tomorrow we'll go in and we'll talk about the Oscars and they'll have a perspective about it that I had no idea or wouldn't even have considered. And I just learn every class I learned something from them. So it's great.
Awesome. Do we have time for another question?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
All right. So since you're learning a lot from spending a lot of time with these students, what can we as hospitality, companies, executives do to better recruit and bring them into our industry?
Great question. In addition to having an attractive compensation package, and it's not just about money, but it could be what you exactly mentioned about with your daughter, the 4th Friday of the month off, the maybe flexible working time where maybe they work, on property 2 days a week and home 3, or flip that 3 days and 2 days. The ability to be mentored by upper level management. I think that's important to them because when they are able to talk to the general manager, talk to the director of marketing genuinely and consistently, that is valuable to them more so than like money. Also a certain feeling of community. Like they really like to have a community. So if you develop a community within your properties where, there's maybe different events, it could be potlucks, it could be hikes, it could be all sorts of things that are not directly related to, heads in beds, booking rooms, things like that. They love community also. And then being open to their ideas. Like if you could listen and say, oh, we'll try this or we'll try that. Or if you want to create a committee and you think we should be more active on a certain social media platform, well, how about you join us and we'll work on it together and see what happens. If you just listen to their ideas, you don't have to implement them, but listen to their ideas, that will create loyalty and they'll stay. Because this generation, more so than any, if they're not happy, they're out. They're going to leave, they'll find something else. And that's what comes to mind when you ask that question.
Yeah. No, those are very insightful. I've seen a lot of that with some of my own kids, and my daughter certainly has shared a lot of that. And we can, as hospitality execs should certainly listen and try to implement where we can. We can't come up with it all, but there's a lot of great points there for sure. And I think your point on community is so big to them. It really is. And my daughter, we just did this on Friday, and we all went and played. They did a pickleball tournament like last Friday, and it was the highlight of her week.
Yeah, just community.
Spot on. Thank you. That was great insights.
Even digital communities, and then you build them into real life. Like one thing I do for all my classes, we have our own separate Discord channel, so you can talk, share things. And so for some classes, that's very impactful, very effective, because they can communicate, they can ask questions without being intimidated. And so I'm just finding more and more good uses for that too. All right.
And what's the best way to recruit them? Whether it's a channel or what do you suggest there?
Social media, like they are on there, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, not Facebook though. They're not on Facebook. Snapchat is a surprisingly an effective one. Those are the three. Those are three that come to mind. I think they all use Reddit but you can't really recruit there. Discord, if you're able to kind of join communities where they're active in, that's another effective one too. Those are the ones that come to mind.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got Mandy. Mandy, your turn. What's Mandy's question?
Mandy, you got lots of energy and I love it.
I do.
What makes you get up? What makes you tick? What makes you want to get up every day?
I mean, there's just so much to learn. There's so much to see. There's so much to experience. I just, people make me tick. I love people. I love interacting, and I'm very curious. I think I'm genuinely curious, like every day, like what's going to happen today? Like I'm genuinely curious about that next moment, that next action, and I like to keep that curiosity alive. I think it just comes down to curiosity is my superpower.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. I think
Yeah.
that's great. So where is your next big adventure travel wise? What's on the
Ooh,
docket?
I'm going to Cartagena in May.
Oh, wow.
With the HPN President's Club. That's where our top performers event is this year in Cartagena in Colombia in the first week in May.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited. What about you, Amani? Where's your next adventure?
Wow, that's a good question here. I was just thinking about that this weekend. I need to plan a summer kind of getaway because I had one last summer. It was really cool. Haven't got anything planned this summer. I need to sit down and make that happen. That's going to be important. So let me get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Amani, call me. I'm happy to help you out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just put that's probably being recorded. I'm on the line hook now.
You're on the hook.
Sure. Yeah.
What about your property in Pismo Beach? Go is it Vespera, right?
We have Vespera and Pismo Beach. If you want to stay close, if you want to go, jump on a plane, we'd, love to have you out in Hawaii, or you want to go a little further, head off to Fiji. You want to go crazy, go to the Maldives, Thailand.
Okay.
We got it all.
Oh, my mind.
But, if you want to stay local, we also have Silverado and Napa, another great place. Are you a wine drinker?
I am no, but I'm trying to learn about wine, and hopefully it'll be, be more permanent in my upcoming months. I hope I said that right.
Yes. That's Amani Unleashed. You can go anywhere.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful.
I just have a question because you talked a little bit about your kids before our little Q&A we just had. And I want to hang back here. You're on the other side of this, right? Because you've got adult children. But so much of what makes our industry, working parents make the world go round, whether it is housekeeping or valet or whether it is executive. So what advice do you have for working parents right now that are in the thick of it? Like they're glorified Uber drivers for their kids. Their kids are like 10, 11, 12. They're taking them to soccer practices. They're on the road. They're trying to stay connected. Like what advice do you have for working parents in the hospitality industry right now?
Well, first of all, my advice is enjoy the moment. Because it's going to end. They're going to go off and they're not going to be playing soccer, basketball, or anymore. So if they ask you to go throw the football or shoot baskets with them, go and do it. And, I know as much how, you're being an Uber driver for every single sport and how difficult it is. I've been there, done that. But it eventually, unfortunately, does end. So enjoy all of that. But I think everybody in the industry, we need to try to find that balance. Family is so important. No one's ever been on their deathbed and said, I should have spent more time in the office. So you've got to find that balance. You got to give work 110%, but you got to give family 110% as well. And hopefully you can find work for someone with someone where you're allowed that flexibility so you can be that full-time parent and that full-time or part-time worker.
Good advice. Great
Yeah.
advice.
So
Yeah.
one of the things I love about Mandy in her training that she does is she always brings it back to like lessons and goals and things you're looking to improve. So for example, she subconsciously or indirectly gave me a goal of making sure that I follow up with customers who I haven't been in touch with that maybe booked me in 2021, 2022. For you, what are some personal goals that you have? It could be professional or personal that you are working towards this next year.
Um, I'm glad you brought that up. First, I believe everybody should set goals, short-term, long-term goals, personal and professional. And I'll jump in with some of my personal goals. They may seem odd to some, but like many, I love to travel. My personal goal is to get to all 50 states. And I've been stuck at 48 for quite some time.
Ooh, what's
I
left?
am
What's left?
I'm missing North Dakota and Arkansas. I got to get there.
Okay.
And then my goal is what's called the 57. It's 50 states, 7 continents. And so after my June trip to Africa, I'm missing Antarctica. So I have a feeling maybe I'm going to be doing Arkansas and Antarctica in the same year.
Wow.
But that's one of my personal goals.
Okay. I love it. Now, if we're going to go back, and Clemson's in Death Valley, correct? That's where it is?
Yeah, Clemson, South Carolina.
Yeah, so we're going to go back and talk to Chris, who was in Death Valley in the early to mid 90s, and give him advice based on everything you've learned now. What advice would you give your younger self?
We just talked about the first one. Make sure you set goals and milestones, and do you want to become a director of sales, a VP of sales, and if so, kind of have a time frame. Have financial goals as well. Don't forget to save, but have for these younger people, try to set some goals. And maybe I want to buy my first condo by X, and so on. I think setting goals are important. I think finding a mentor, as we had talked about, and again, it doesn't have to be formal. It can be informal. Don't be scared to ask for advice, because many people often like to share advice, but find the right person to share. We had touched on, on leadership. Don't waste time with working for people that you don't trust and you don't respect. Move on quickly, and go a different route. And I think the 21-year-olds now do that. Oh, this is not working, I'm out of there. But I think those are some of the important things. I would say stretch yourself. Go for those jobs that maybe just a little bit out of your realm, but you know what? We're not doing brain surgery in the hospital. Give it a shot. Maybe you won't get that one that you threw your name into, but they're going to say, wow, Chris threw his name in. Maybe he's going to be ready for the next time. He showed that desire. So I certainly would say stretch yourself for sure. Let's see. I actually was thinking about, I'm always giving advice to my kids. So we talked about being lifelong learners, trust and respect. One thing that I think everybody should do more, celebrate your successes.
Yes.
No matter how big or how small. You just got a little booking or whatever it was, celebrate your success. Go on and, pat yourself on your back, or go out and have a cocktail with your friends. And, those bigger accomplishments, celebrate a little bigger, but don't just let those kind of go unnoticed. So be proud of your accomplishments and definitely celebrate those as you move forward. Lifelong learners. We talked about reading, podcasts. Try to educate yourself with, like HSMAI or the MPI certificates or whatever that may be. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. Amazing advice. Thank you. Thank you so much. To you, Mandy, to close us out.
Well, I just want to know, how can we support you professionally, and how can we support KSL? How can we stay in touch with you and support you?
Well, I think, thank you for, first of all, having me on your podcast. I think that's supporting me and KSL Resorts in that way, and our other brands with Outrigger Hotels and Under Canvas as well. Please keep us top of mind. We got a great team out there. I know you work with Chris DeVito and some of our other people, so keep them top of mind for your travels. And Amani, the way you can support us is if you've got some great people, you got your finger on the pulse of all, a lot of great students coming out. Send some in our direction. If they don't come to us, send them, make sure they stay in our industry, and someone gets a hold of them, and then we can groom them to become future executives for sure. But I appreciate your support, and Mandy, I just love your energy.
Thank you. I love your energy.
Thank you.
Good.
Awesome. Well, that's fun. We'll be sure to do that. We're gonna put you in the green room after another round of applause, but so hold tight there. But just thank you and appreciate your honesty and just everything you're doing, and just round of applause for Chris right here. So here we are. Back to the green room we go.
Thank you for being here, Chris. So good to see you.
Okay, Mandy, another amazing episode.
Yeah.
What and who do you look forward to next week?
We have Candace Carciopolo next week, who is a social media wizard. She's in the real estate space. She does a lot of work for Ryan Seahart with the millionaire, why can't I think of the name of it? Millionaire listings. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, she's really compelling. If you're not following her, follow her now and prep for that. But bring all your social media questions because she understands. She knows how to do it.
All right. So that's great. Thanks again to Chris for a great interview. We'll see everyone next week. Make sure to tune in live, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on the West. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review our show, and share it with a friend. And with that, we will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.
See you next week. Thank you.